Hello, everyone. Today we will dive into a journey of change, a journey that challenges the way we think about our limitations, our goals, and our potential. If you've ever wondered why change feels so elusive or why, despite all your good intentions, nothing seems to shift, you're in the right place. Today, we explore the idea that change doesn't come from reasons, it comes from determination. We've all heard it. I would change if only, right? The reasons are endless. The right job, the right environment, the right time. But what if the secret to real change isn't in all these reasons? What if it's something more internal, something that we have control over all along? Determination, that internal fire to keep pushing, even when everything else is working against you. Before we dig in, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Yes, I'm talking to you. The one sitting there thinking, I'll get to it later. Nope. You want to stick around for this one because, trust me, it's going to change how you approach your goals. So why does this matter? Why is it so important? Here's the thing. Reasons are convenient excuses. It's easy to say, I can't because of X, Y, Z. But real, lasting change isn't about finding reasons. It's about digging deep, looking at the obstacles head on, and choosing to be determined, no matter what. We're going to break that down throughout the series, and by the end, you'll have a blueprint for how to start changing things in your life. No more waiting. Now, let's talk about the first step in this journey, the awakening of change. Meet Alex, an ordinary 30-year-old professional who, like many of us, has been trapped in the comfort of a routine. From the outside, Alex seems successful, a marketing manager at a mid-sized company with an apartment, a decent salary, and a social life. On the surface, everything looks fine. But deep down, Alex is feeling stagnant, stuck in a place where nothing changes, no matter how many reasons are found to stay in the status quo. You know that feeling, right? One night, during a casual catch-up with an old friend, Alex has a breakthrough. The conversation isn't groundbreaking. It's just a typical conversation about work, life, and the usual how are things. But then, the friend casually drops a bombshell. Change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. Suddenly, Alex feels a jolt, like the ground just shifted beneath them. The idea that change isn't about waiting for the perfect reason, but about having the will to act, plants a seed in their mind. It hits like a revelation. Alex, up until this point, had always blamed external circumstances for their lack of change. They had all the reasons in the world, but never took real action. The realization sets a fire inside Alex. But here's the kicker. Waking up to the fact that change doesn't come from reasons doesn't automatically fix things. There's still hesitation, fear, and that nagging thought. What if I fail? It's the first step, but it's only the beginning. The next move is about going from awareness to action. But here's the thing. It's all about the first step. That realization. That change doesn't require a perfect reason, but rather a commitment to act. This is the pivot point. Alex is suddenly aware that everything they've been waiting for is right there within them. They don't need to wait for the perfect moment. They don't need to wait for things to line up perfectly. All they need is determination. It's time to step forward. But, as Alex will soon realize, taking that first step is never as easy as it sounds. There's always something that holds us back. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into what happens when you decide to take that first step and why so many people falter at this crucial moment. Stick with me, because change is coming whether we're ready or not. So, Alex has had the realization that change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. Now, what happens next? The biggest hurdle after the awareness is taking that first step. It sounds simple enough, right? But here's the thing. Even after the aha moment, things don't magically shift. There's still that paralyzing sense of fear, that voice inside that asks, what if I fail? Taking the first step toward change is like jumping into a cold pool. The idea of it is terrifying, but once you commit, it's usually better than expected. Alex, sitting at their kitchen table, staring at a to-do list that has only been getting longer, wonders, what now? How do I actually start? Here's the kicker. It's not about figuring out the perfect plan, because, spoiler alert, there is no perfect plan. It's about taking the smallest action possible. The smallest step? The one thing you can do today that gets you a little closer to where you want to be. Alex isn't going to overhaul their entire life overnight. They're going to start small. So, Alex does what anyone in their shoes would do. They pull out their phone and start searching for something, a course, an article, maybe just a podcast. That could be the first real step toward change. But here's where it gets funny. Alex spends the next couple of hours overthinking it. They find hundreds of resources, books, videos, and blogs, each one promising a magical shortcut to success. But that's the thing with information overload. You get stuck in it instead of actually doing something. You ever been there? Where you just keep consuming more information, reading the next blog post, watching another TED Talk, anything to feel like you're moving forward. It's like the hamster wheel of progress that doesn't actually get you anywhere. But then Alex remembers what their friend said. Change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. Determination isn't just about having the right strategy. It's about action. Action, no matter how small. So, Alex decides to stop scrolling, to stop researching for the perfect resource, and instead just decides to take that first real step. They decide to break their overwhelming goals into smaller, more manageable pieces. A phone call to schedule a consultation for a new business idea. A 20-minute walk around the block to get the blood flowing. A single email to a mentor they've been too scared to reach out to. The action, as small as it seems, feels like the start of something big. Every small decision feels empowering. It's like finally breaking through a wall of doubt. And guess what? Alex isn't perfect at it. There's still doubt creeping in, and they still make mistakes. But the key is that they acted. Even if the actions were tiny, they started the process of change. Here's the twist, though. Even small wins can feel huge. Alex begins to feel a sense of pride in simply taking action. It's that first moment of realizing that doing something, anything, is far better than doing nothing. Because at the end of the day, nothing changes without movement. And that movement doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be a single phone call or writing down your goals for the week. But there's more to it than that. It's not just about taking action. It's about consistency. In the coming days, Alex will face new challenges, and every time that initial excitement wears off, they'll need to keep pushing. Because, as you and I both know, the novelty of change doesn't last long. The excitement fades, and determination is what keeps us moving forward. And that's where we find the real power of change, in the small daily choices that add up over time. So, let's follow Alex's journey as they take on the challenge of building those consistent habits, even when things get tough. The next step might feel overwhelming, but every step forward is a victory, and Alex is on their way. Alex's journey into change has begun, and while the first step was a significant one, the real challenge now is maintaining that momentum. The initial excitement of starting something new has faded, and with it, the motivation that had carried them through the first few days. It's one of the hardest truths about change. Starting is relatively easy, but sticking with it is the part that requires true determination. One afternoon, a week after their first step, Alex finds themselves sitting at their desk again, staring blankly at a fresh to-do list. The buzz of new beginnings has dulled, replaced with the reality of the work that still lies ahead. They've checked off a few small goals, but they can't shake the feeling that they're still standing at the base of a mountain, looking up at the daunting climb ahead. But this is the moment when Alex must decide. Will they let the fear of the journey's length paralyze them? Or will they embrace the idea that change, true change, is a slow burn that demands patience? It's tempting to think that progress should feel fast. The world is full of instant gratification, and we're constantly fed the idea that success is just around the corner if we push hard enough. But Alex starts to realize something profound. Change doesn't happen in one big burst. It happens slowly in the quiet moments between the noise. To make this work, Alex must first embrace the discomfort of consistency. Each day doesn't need to feel like a leap forward. Sometimes it's about showing up, even when the results aren't immediately visible. And that's the part that's hard to accept. Change isn't always linear. There will be days when Alex feels like they're moving backward, days when doubt creeps in and nothing seems to be clicking. But that's okay, Because with consistency comes growth, even when it's imperceptible. 1 week after that first step, Alex starts to see small shifts in their attitude. They made a habit of setting aside time every day to work on their business idea. It's not perfect, and it's not as far along as they'd hoped, but they've made progress. And the feeling of moving forward, no matter how small the step, starts to fuel the next day's determination. In the midst of these small wins, however, a moment of vulnerability hits. Alex receives feedback from a colleague that their business idea isn't as solid as they thought. It stings, especially after the effort that's already gone into the project. But this is the moment of reckoning. The harsh truth is this: setbacks are inevitable. Change doesn't follow a clear path. It's messy. Sometimes you'll fall flat on your face, and the world will feel like it's telling you no. But the key, Alex realizes, isn't in avoiding failure. The key is how you react to it. Will they shrink away, retreat into the comfort of the familiar, or will they rise, adjust, and keep going? The decision isn't easy. But Alex knows they're in this for the long haul. If they truly want change, they can't afford to stop now. With newfound resolve, Alex takes the feedback in stride. Instead of retreating, they start to tweak the business plan, make changes based on the criticism, and embrace the discomfort of growth. It's an important moment. Not only is Alex learning that failure isn't the end, but they're also beginning to understand that failure is part of the process of growth. It's not about getting it perfect, it's about getting it done. Here's where determination really shines. As Alex faces the bumps in the road, they recognize that consistency doesn't mean a smooth journey. It's about learning how to keep moving even when things aren't going perfectly. It's about showing up, doing the work, and trusting that those small steps will eventually lead to something bigger. But even though Alex is committed to the journey, they're still not immune to doubt. That nagging thought, what if this doesn't work, pops up again. It's a familiar feeling, one that everyone experiences when they're on the cusp of something new. But Alex knows that change doesn't come from reasons or from waiting until everything feels right. It comes from the daily determination to keep going despite the uncertainty, the fear, and the setbacks. As Alex's journey continues, there's one thing they've learned for sure. Change is about making the choice every single day to keep moving forward. Some days that means a giant leap, and other days it's just a small step. But as long as they're moving in the right direction, they're on the right path. The next few days, Alex stays focused, adjusting their approach, but never losing sight of the bigger picture. They keep making small, consistent choices, whether it's drafting another business plan, working out, or reaching out to people for advice, and every step, no matter how small, builds on the one before it. And little by little, the results start to accumulate. Change doesn't happen overnight, and the process of growth may not always be glamorous. But it is constant, and it's always moving in the right direction if you're willing to show up every day. The next hurdle is ahead, and Alex knows it's going to get even tougher. But at this point, they've already learned the most important lesson of all. Determination is the secret sauce. It's the thing that carries you through when the reasons run out, and it's the thing that drives you forward, even when you don't see immediate results. And that's what makes the journey worthwhile. As the days pass, Alex starts to realize that growth is not only about the visible progress, but also about the internal shifts that happen quietly in the background. It's easy to get caught up in the chase for external achievements, like a business launch or a promotion at work. But Alex is slowly learning that true transformation begins on the inside, in the way you view yourself, your potential, and your ability to navigate through obstacles. One day, while sitting at their favorite coffee shop, Alex reflects on the past few weeks. The small steps they've taken haven't been easy. In fact, there have been moments of deep frustration. The business idea is still not perfect. Some days, Alex has doubts about whether they're cut out for this. The constant juggling between day-to-day tasks and their dreams is exhausting. There's no flashy success to show for their hard work yet. But despite all of that, there's a quiet, steady confidence building inside. And that's something no amount of external validation can provide. As they sip their coffee, Alex thinks back to the first few steps of this journey. At that time, it felt like they were grasping for something bigger than themselves. Now it feels different. The desire for change isn't about chasing an idealized version of success anymore. It's about who Alex is becoming along the way. The internal shift has been subtle but powerful. The person staring back at them in the mirror isn't the same person who started this journey. They're more confident, more decisive, and most importantly, they're more self-aware. But this is where the journey gets tricky. You see, as you begin to change, as you start breaking free from the constraints you've built for yourself, the world around you doesn't always catch up. Friends, family, colleagues, sometimes they don't understand. They might even question your decisions. And that's where Alex finds themselves now. People are starting to notice the changes. One evening, Alex's colleague and longtime friend, Sarah, pulls them aside at a social gathering. Over drinks, Sarah expresses concern. "You've been acting so different lately," she says, her voice laced with confusion. "I'm happy you're pursuing what you love, but it seems like you're changing into someone I don't really know anymore." At first, Alex is taken aback. It's not that they didn't expect feedback, it's just that it stings more than they anticipated. They want to explain, to justify the choices they've made, but something inside tells them that they don't need to. Change isn't something that requires validation from others. The fact that Alex is standing firm, determined to continue on this path, is proof enough. Still, there's a vulnerability in hearing someone they care about question their transformation. The conversation lingers in Alex's mind for days. They realize that change often comes with the uncomfortable realization that others may not understand or support the direction you're going. But that's okay. The real challenge here isn't changing. It's learning how to handle the external pressures and judgments that come with it. So what does Alex do? They keep going. Instead of retreating or becoming defensive, Alex digs deeper into their determination. They recognize that not everyone will understand their journey, and that's part of what makes it personal. Change isn't about pleasing others or fitting into predefined molds. It's about crafting a life that aligns with your own values, your own truth. This is where Alex begins to embrace the concept of boundaries. They start to understand that setting boundaries is not about pushing people away, but about protecting the energy and focus they've worked so hard to cultivate. It's about recognizing when a conversation or a person isn't serving their growth and choosing to respectfully distance themselves from negative influences. Saying no is one of the hardest parts of change, but it's also one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. In the weeks that follow, Alex starts to build these boundaries more consciously. They learn to say no when they feel like their time and energy are being pulled in directions that don't align with their goals. They stop explaining themselves to everyone who questions their decisions, realizing that they don't owe anyone an explanation. It's liberating. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, Alex goes for a walk, reflecting on all the shifts they've experienced. The cool night air fills their lungs, and for the first time in a while, Alex feels a deep sense of peace. They realize that the struggle, the push against the discomfort, the awkwardness of change, is not something to avoid. It's something to embrace. This new understanding, that the discomfort of change is just as important as the victories, is a pivotal moment in Alex's journey. They come to realize that growth isn't a straight line. It's a winding, sometimes messy process full of detours and obstacles, but it's also rich with rewards. The reward isn't just the end goal, it's in the person you become along the way. And as Alex embraces this journey, they begin to feel a sense of purpose that they never had before. Change doesn't come easily, and it certainly doesn't come without effort. But the one thing Alex has discovered above all else is that determination, in its purest form, is what drives true transformation. It's not about having all the answers or avoiding failure. It's about staying committed, even when the path is unclear. It's about showing up for yourself, no matter how tough it gets. In the end, Alex's story isn't just about success or failure. It's about the quiet, consistent decisions to keep moving forward day by day. And while they know the road ahead will be filled with challenges, they're no longer afraid. Because now they know that change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. As the days go by, Alex's life continues to evolve. With every new step, a little more of the person they've always wanted to become emerges. They've made peace with the discomfort of change. It's no longer something to avoid, but something to embrace. The first few weeks were tough. The adjustments were jarring. But now, Alex feels more settled in their own skin, more aligned with their goals. But as they step further into this new phase of their life, new challenges begin to emerge. The world around Alex may have felt familiar at first, but now it seems to be shifting in ways they hadn't anticipated. Old habits creep in, doubt clouds their mind, and there's a part of them that wonders if they can really sustain this change in the long term. One night, as Alex sits alone with a cup of tea, reflecting on the path they've walked, they notice something important. They haven't truly faced their greatest fear, the fear of failure. All the tiny steps they've taken, the small, consistent efforts to move forward, are great, but deep down, there's still a lingering question: what if this doesn't work? It's easy to start with excitement and ambition, but sustaining change requires more than just determination. It requires trust, the belief that you're capable of weathering the tough times, the doubts, and the failures that will inevitably come. Alex has learned that determination is a force, but trust is its foundation. The next day, Alex faces this fear head-on. They've committed to launching a new product for their business, but the fear of failure is paralyzing. What if no one buys it? What if their idea flops? The thoughts swirl in their mind, and for a moment, Alex feels overwhelmed. But then, a small voice inside pushes them forward. You don't know until you try. They've worked too hard to back down now. So, they press publish. They put the product online. It's not perfect, it's not polished to the level they had initially envisioned, but it's there. It's real. It's out in the world. And in that moment, Alex realizes something huge. The act of moving through fear is what makes all the difference. The next few days are a blur of mixed emotions. There's the rush of excitement every time someone buys the product, followed by the anxious wait for more sales. There's the thrill of seeing positive feedback, but also the weight of any criticism. Each moment is a reminder of what Alex has learned. The emotional highs and lows of change are part of the journey, but they keep coming back to the same realization. Every decision, every action they take reinforces their growth. Each choice is an investment in their future. As the business continues to grow and the feedback comes in, Alex also notices something unexpected. They feel less afraid. The fear that once paralyzed them has slowly started to transform into motivation. They've stopped running from the discomfort. Now, they're meeting it head-on, knowing that every small success, every small failure, is simply part of the journey. In the following weeks, Alex focuses even more on the importance of trusting the process. They stop obsessing over perfect results and start embracing progress. Imperfect, messy progress. They hire a coach to help them refine their business strategy, and in doing so, they realize that asking for help is part of the process, too. It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of wisdom. Trusting others, sharing the journey, and accepting help can be one of the most powerful decisions in the pursuit of change. One of the most significant breakthroughs Alex experiences in this part of the journey is the realization that change is not linear. The road will have setbacks, mistakes, missteps, and frustrations. But those setbacks are just a chance to course correct. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about using it to grow, to improve, and to keep moving forward. Alex starts to develop a new perspective on change. They understand now that the process of change is fluid, constantly evolving. It's not about achieving a perfect version of success, but about embracing the growth that happens along the way. The purpose of change isn't to arrive at a destination. It's to keep becoming, to keep evolving, to keep learning. As Alex continues to face their fears and push through obstacles, they start to feel more grounded. The idea that change is constant, that it's a part of who they are, becomes ingrained in their daily life. And with that mindset shift comes a profound sense of peace. They no longer feel like they're fighting to change. They simply feel like they're becoming the person they were always meant to be. But the real change comes when Alex realizes something crucial. Determination alone isn't enough to fuel growth. Change requires self-compassion, too. They need to learn how to treat themselves with kindness during the tough moments. After all, nobody can be determined all the time. The best thing Alex can do is to give themselves grace, to celebrate the wins, and to forgive the missteps. This understanding of self-compassion becomes a vital part of the equation for lasting change. As they take more steps toward their goals, Alex begins to see results that go beyond the tangible. Their confidence grows, their relationships deepen, and their understanding of their own potential expands. And through it all, Alex holds on to one key idea. Change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. Now, Alex faces the next challenge, keeping this momentum going. Change isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. As they continue forward, the question becomes less about achieving a specific goal and more about how they want to live every day. Determination will still play a role, but so will trust, patience, and self-compassion. And the beauty of it all? There's no final destination. The journey of change is just beginning. As Alex continues to navigate the ever-changing landscape of their life, they find themselves at a crossroads. The initial excitement of change has evolved into something deeper. The initial phases of taking action were fueled by determination, but now, Alex is starting to realize something important. Change is more than just about taking action. It's about knowing when to pause, when to reflect, and when to assess the road they're on. One quiet evening, Alex sits down with a cup of tea, looking out the window at the world passing by. The weight of all the decisions they've made over the past few months finally starts to settle in. They've worked hard, harder than they've ever worked before, but they're beginning to question, is this the right path? The question isn't about the external results. It's about the internal feeling. Is this the life they want? Is this the version of themselves they're striving to become? The fear of failure, once so paralyzing, now feels distant. But there's a new fear emerging, the fear of losing direction. It's a fear that comes with growth, as you begin to realize that the changes you've made aren't always in line with the life you envisioned for yourself. Sometimes the version of success you've been chasing doesn't look quite the way you expected it to. It's a pivotal moment. The kind of moment that challenges everything you thought you knew about your journey. It's that brief, unsettling silence between the chapters of change, where you look back to see how far you've come, but you can't quite see what's ahead. Alex spends the next few days in self-reflection. They revisit their goals, revisiting what they wanted when they started this journey of change. A couple of months ago, the goal was simple: make a change, build a new life, break free from the stagnation. But now, Alex realizes that their definition of success has evolved. The path they're on isn't necessarily the one they intended to take, but is it still the right one? In the midst of these musings, Alex encounters a situation that highlights this conflict in a concrete way. They're offered a job promotion that would catapult their career in ways they had once dreamed of, but it would also take them further away from the creative freedom they had started to enjoy. The promotion promises financial success, but it also demands more time and energy, potentially pulling Alex back into the very kind of life they've been trying to escape. It's a crossroads, a choice that, on the surface, looks like the kind of success Alex had imagined, but it feels off. The question is no longer about whether Alex can achieve success. It's about defining what success really means for them now, after all this change. Here's the real turning point. Alex starts to realize that no matter how successful this job might make them, it's not enough if it doesn't align with their deeper goals. They know that the purpose of this journey wasn't just to climb a ladder. It was to create a life they can truly enjoy. A life where they feel fulfilled, where they feel a sense of purpose that goes beyond just achieving outward success. The decision is daunting. Saying no to the promotion feels like saying no to the dream they've had for years. But Alex, ever determined, knows they need to trust their gut. They politely decline the promotion and instead decide to pursue a path that aligns more closely with their creative passions. It's a risky move, but Alex has come to learn that true determination isn't just about pushing forward at all costs. It's also about knowing when to let go of opportunities that no longer serve you. And here's the beautiful part. As Alex steps away from what once felt like the right path, they feel a deep sense of peace. The decision isn't without its challenges, but it's the right one for them. The path forward is not one of guaranteed success, but one that feels truer to who they are. It's a path filled with uncertainty, but also filled with possibility. Now, Alex is ready to embrace the unknown again. It's funny, isn't it? How change comes in waves. At first, it feels like you're pushing against the current, trying to swim upstream. But then, when you start to trust the process, when you stop fighting the flow, you realize that the current was never working against you. It was carrying you to a place that was meant for you all along. From here, Alex can't predict exactly where their journey will take them. They don't have all the answers, but they have something far more powerful: determination. The kind of determination that doesn't demand immediate results, but trusts in the journey, in the process, and in the deep belief that they are exactly where they need to be. As Alex moves forward, they also realize that change is an ongoing process. It's not about arriving at some final destination. It's about the continuous evolution, the willingness to adapt, and the courage to stay true to what you want even when it's hard. The only constant is change, and Alex has learned to embrace it with grace, patience, and, most importantly, determination. The next step is not the last one. It's just another step in a journey that will never truly end. But now, Alex knows that change doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be planned out. It just has to be determined. And that's enough. In the weeks following Alex's decision to trust their intuition and embrace the unknown, the world around them begins to take shape in ways they hadn't expected. The initial uncertainty of stepping away from a golden opportunity, a stable job promotion, begins to fade, replaced with a newfound sense of peace and excitement. Alex starts to understand the delicate balance between the external pressures of success and the internal desire for fulfillment. They dive deeper into their creative endeavors, taking more risks and exploring new avenues of expression. The decision to focus on building a life that aligns with their passions rather than just their responsibilities feels liberating. Alex has always had a passion for art, but it was something they pushed aside for years, convincing themselves that they couldn't afford to indulge in such pursuits. But now, as they embrace the path of change, they feel more capable than ever of integrating their creative side with their professional life. But even in this space of newfound clarity, Alex is still confronted with moments of doubt. The voice in their head that once whispered, "You're not good enough," or "This isn't practical," hasn't completely disappeared. Change isn't a destination. It's a continual process. And in the process of becoming, Alex is faced with the challenge of confronting the doubts that linger. One afternoon, while reviewing the progress on their new art project, Alex is struck with a powerful realization. They've been focusing so much on the external outcome, on how their work will be received, on whether it will succeed, that they've forgotten the reason they started in the first place: for themselves. This shift in perspective is subtle, but it's significant. It's not about impressing others, securing validation, or proving anything. It's about showing up, creating, and doing the work because it brings them joy. This is one of the key moments of transformation. Alex realizes that the value of their work doesn't lie in how others perceive it, but in how it aligns with their own vision and purpose. The external accolades may come, but they cannot be the measure of success. It's the internal satisfaction that matters most. With this new clarity, Alex's approach to life begins to shift again. They begin to recognize that their work, whether it's the business they're building or the art they're creating, doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be true to themselves. And with that, a deep sense of liberation settles in. No longer do they feel trapped by the need for external validation. The journey of self-expression, of constant growth, is all that matters. This shift in perspective has ripple effects. Alex begins to feel more connected to the people around them. Their relationships deepen, not because they're trying to impress or seek approval, but because they're being authentic. Alex starts showing up as their true self, no longer bound by the fear of judgment or the need for perfection. One evening, Alex has dinner with Sarah, the friend who had expressed concern about their changes earlier in the journey. Over a glass of wine, they talk about everything that has happened since the last conversation, about the fears, the breakthroughs, and the lessons learned. Sarah, after listening intently, says something that strikes Alex profoundly. You've changed, but it doesn't feel like you're different. It feels like you've finally become who you were always supposed to be. Alex smiles, the weight of those words settling in. They realize that this isn't about becoming someone else. It's about shedding the layers of self-doubt, fear, and the need for external approval. The version of themselves they've been trying to build has been inside them all along. And now, they're simply allowing that version to emerge. In the days that follow, Alex continues to make slow but steady progress in both their business and artistic ventures. They're not chasing quick results anymore. They're committed to the process, knowing that the journey will yield its own rewards. Whether it's completing a painting, launching a new product, or simply taking time to meditate and reflect, each action becomes an opportunity to reaffirm their commitment to change and growth. But the journey isn't without challenges. Alex receives another piece of feedback on one of their business strategies. A major client has dropped out, citing a lack of alignment with the direction Alex is taking. At first, it stings. It's a setback, a momentary failure. But instead of retreating, Alex takes the feedback and adjusts their approach. They recognize that setbacks are part of the process of change. They don't mark the end of the journey. Rather, they're invitations to learn, to grow, and to adapt. The key here is that Alex doesn't let the setback derail their progress. Instead, they adjust their mindset. They embrace the failure not as a judgment of their worth, but as a step forward on the road to growth. This is the difference between someone who is determined to change and someone who gets stuck in a cycle of excuses. Alex has learned that failure is not a reflection of their ability to succeed. It's simply an opportunity to learn and refine their approach. With each setback, Alex learns more about themselves and the work they are doing. They realize that the journey is never linear. There are peaks and valleys, but it's the consistency of showing up, of making small adjustments, and of staying true to their vision that will ultimately lead to success. Through this process, Alex learns that determination is not about relentless pushing. It's about persistence, resilience, and the ability to bounce back after setbacks. Determination is the quiet strength to keep going, even when the path is unclear. It's the commitment to yourself, to your goals, and to your values, no matter the external noise. As Alex continues to move forward, they begin to appreciate the journey for what it is, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. The journey of change is not about a destination, but about becoming the person you were always meant to be. It's a process of self-discovery, of growing into your truest form. And with determination, anything is possible. Months have passed since Alex made the conscious decision to follow a path that felt truer to who they are. The initial uncertainty and fear have gradually been replaced by a deep sense of purpose and understanding. Change, Alex realizes now, isn't a one-time event that you check off a list. It's an ongoing evolution, something that continues to unfold with every decision, every action, and every lesson learned along the way. But even as Alex feels more grounded in their journey, they know that true growth isn't always comfortable. In fact, the most profound transformations often come from moments of discomfort, when you're forced to face the unknown. These moments don't always feel like progress, but they're pivotal nonetheless. One evening, Alex finds themselves facing one of those moments of discomfort. They've been invited to speak at a conference for entrepreneurs, a huge opportunity to share their business ideas and insights. A few months ago, the thought of speaking in front of a crowd would have terrified them, but now, it feels like a challenge that is both exciting and daunting. The event is just a few days away, and Alex can't help but feel a mix of emotions. On one hand, they're thrilled. This is a milestone in their journey, a moment where they can truly showcase the work they've been building. But on the other hand, they're still grappling with the nagging voice of self-doubt. What if I'm not good enough? What if I freeze up in front of all those people? It's in moments like these, when the fear of judgment and failure start creeping in, that Alex has to remind themselves of the progress they've made. They've already taken so many risks and confronted so many fears. This is just another step in the process. The morning of the conference, Alex stands in front of the mirror, taking a few deep breaths. They're nervous, but they refuse to let the fear take over. They've come too far. They think about everything they've learned about determination, how it's not about the absence of fear, but about moving forward in spite of it. Alex arrives at the venue, feeling a mixture of nervousness and excitement. The conference hall is buzzing with energy, and Alex can sense the excitement in the air. The crowd is large, larger than they expected, and as the time for their presentation approaches, they can feel their heart rate accelerating. But instead of retreating into their old patterns of fear, Alex takes a deep breath, centers themselves, and steps onto the stage. The spotlight feels blinding at first, but soon enough, they find their rhythm. The words flow, the ideas click, and before they know it, Alex is speaking confidently about their journey, about the challenges they've faced, and the lessons they've learned along the way. When the presentation ends, the crowd gives a warm round of applause. Alex smiles, feeling a sense of accomplishment and relief wash over them. They did it. They faced their fear, and they came out stronger on the other side. But the most surprising part of the experience comes later, when Alex is approached by a young entrepreneur who tells them that their story inspired them to take the first step in their own journey. That's when it hits Alex. The purpose of their work, their change, their determination isn't just for them. It's for others too. It's about showing up, being real, and sharing their story to help others do the same. This moment of connection, of realizing that their vulnerability and determination had a ripple effect, fills Alex with a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond any personal achievement. It's in those moments, when you realize that your growth can inspire others, that the true power of change becomes clear. But Alex knows that the work isn't done. Change isn't just about one big moment of success. It's about maintaining that momentum, continuing to show up, and using the lessons learned to navigate the next challenge. Determination, they've come to realize, is not a singular force. It's a daily practice, a practice that requires patience, self-compassion, and the courage to embrace the discomfort of growth. In the weeks that follow, Alex receives more speaking invitations and begins to expand their business, all while continuing to nurture their personal growth. But despite the success, they remain humble. They know that this is just one chapter in their ongoing journey. There will be more challenges ahead, more fears to confront, more risks to take, but they're ready for it. Because Alex has learned that the key to lasting change isn't about seeking perfection. It's about being determined to continue, even when the road gets tough, and trusting that every step will bring them closer to the person they're meant to become. Alex continues to weave determination into every aspect of their life. From their business ventures to their creative endeavors, they remain committed to the process of change. And with every setback, they remind themselves that growth isn't always immediate. It's not about seeing results in real time. It's about trusting that each effort, no matter how small, is an investment in a future that's more aligned with their purpose. In the months that follow, Alex also learns the importance of giving back. They start mentoring other aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing the lessons they've learned along the way. It becomes clear to Alex that the true power of change comes not from individual success, but from a collective growth that happens when people come together, support each other, and share their experiences. Through it all, Alex continues to practice what they've learned: determination, trust, and self-compassion. They understand now that change doesn't happen overnight. It's a lifelong journey of becoming, of evolving, of shedding the layers that no longer serve them, and embracing the parts of themselves that were always there, waiting to be discovered. And so, Alex's story continues, a testament to the power of determination and the unshakable belief that change is possible for anyone willing to show up, take action, and keep moving forward. As the weeks turn into months, Alex's life continues to shift and evolve. Their commitment to change has become a way of life, a mindset that influences every decision, big or small. But with that mindset comes an ever-present understanding. The journey of transformation is never linear. There are still days when the weight of doubt creeps in, days when Alex feels like they're not making as much progress as they hoped, or when the external world doesn't reflect the internal changes they feel. But Alex has learned an invaluable lesson. Change isn't about seeing immediate results. It's about the process, the daily commitment to showing up, even when the fruits of your labor aren't yet visible. It's about trusting that every decision, every small action, is laying the foundation for something greater. In the midst of these ongoing reflections, Alex has another breakthrough. They're at a coffee shop, doing a bit of writing for their blog, when an unexpected conversation shifts their perspective once again. They've been writing about their journey, about their struggles with fear, their growth in confidence, and the lessons they've learned along the way. But during this conversation, a fellow entrepreneur asks them a simple yet powerful question. What's your why? The question takes Alex by surprise. They've been so focused on the how, on building a business, growing their audience, and creating products, that they haven't truly stopped to reflect on why they're doing all of this in the first place. What's the deeper motivation behind the change they've sought? Why do they get out of bed every morning and keep pushing forward? This moment, although seemingly small, is one of the most transformative of Alex's journey. They realize that the why behind their actions isn't just about financial success, external recognition, or even creative fulfillment. It's about making a meaningful impact on the world. It's about using their journey to inspire others, to show that change is possible, not just for those who are lucky or privileged, but for anyone who is willing to put in the work and make it happen. From this revelation, Alex sets a new intention for their business and creative endeavors. It's no longer just about what they can achieve for themselves. It's about creating value for others, about using their success as a platform to elevate those around them. They begin to focus more on mentorship, on guiding others through their own process of change, and on sharing the lessons they've learned so that others don't have to make the same mistakes. This shift in perspective changes everything. Alex begins to look at their work through a new lens. Instead of just measuring success by financial gains or product launches, they begin to see success in terms of impact. Are they helping others grow? Are they creating something meaningful? Are they using their platform to make a difference? In the months that follow, Alex's business flourishes in ways they hadn't expected. The products they've developed continue to gain traction, but more importantly, their community of followers, people who resonate with Alex's story, grows. The impact Alex has on others starts to ripple outward, and for the first time, they feel like their work has a purpose beyond personal gain. They're not just building a business, they're building a movement, one rooted in authenticity, transparency, and the power of change. But just when things are starting to align, Alex faces another challenge. The industry they're in is changing rapidly. New competitors are emerging, trends are shifting, and suddenly, the landscape that once felt so secure begins to feel uncertain again. Alex could easily panic, retreat, or throw in the towel, but instead they do something different. They pause, take a step back, and ask themselves the same question they've asked countless times before: what is my why? And this time, the answer is crystal clear. The why isn't about staying ahead of the competition. It's about staying true to their values, their vision, and their commitment to making a difference. As long as they stay aligned with their core purpose, the changing tides of the industry won't dictate their success. Change will come, but it's not something to fear. It's something to adapt to and use as fuel for innovation. Alex realizes that the key to navigating uncertainty isn't about controlling the external environment. It's about strengthening their internal resolve. When everything around you is in flux, the only thing you can control is your own reaction. And as long as Alex remains committed to their why, they know they can weather any storm. They begin to innovate again, to experiment with new ideas, and to embrace the unknown. They reach out to their community for feedback, listen to their audience's needs, and make adjustments accordingly. The result is a new product line, born out of collaboration and deep listening. It's a risk, but it's a calculated one, grounded in their core mission. And once again, the results are beyond what Alex expected. The new products resonate with their audience, and the business continues to grow. But more importantly, Alex feels a renewed sense of purpose. They've learned that change isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Change is the catalyst for creativity, innovation, and personal growth. Without change, there's no progress. In the end, Alex has learned that success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about how you navigate the process. It's about staying true to your values, even when the road gets tough. And most importantly, it's about understanding that change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. The kind of determination that says, I'll keep going, even when I don't have all the answers. Through determination, Alex has transformed not just their career, but their life. And they know that the journey is far from over. The next challenge, the next opportunity for growth, is already waiting. But whatever comes next, Alex is ready to meet it head-on, with the same unwavering determination that has carried them this far. As the journey continues, Alex finds themselves standing at a familiar yet daunting intersection, one that's become a recurring theme throughout their transformation. It's the intersection between where they are now and where they want to go next. They've made huge strides, launching a business, gaining confidence, embracing change, and even finding a deeper sense of purpose. But just as they've learned in the past, success isn't permanent. Change isn't something you achieve once and then forget about. It's an ongoing process. And just as things are flowing smoothly, new challenges arise. This time, it's not external, like competition or market shifts, but internal. Alex starts to feel a bit disconnected. They've spent so much time making sure their business is running smoothly, focusing on external success, that they've lost touch with something essential, their own creative spark. The work that once felt like a passion project is now starting to feel like just another task on the to-do list. The sense of fulfillment that initially drove them has dimmed. It's a subtle shift, but it's significant. It's not that Alex doesn't love what they do. They do. But the demands of running a business, making decisions, managing people, and constantly staying ahead of trends have drained their creative energy. The very thing that inspired them to take this leap, to make a change, has become the thing they're struggling to keep alive. And that's when it hits them. They've been so focused on the end result that they've forgotten why they started. They've become so caught up in the doing that they've neglected the being, the part of the journey that's about enjoying the process, not just the outcome. They're not just building a business. They're building a life. And a life driven solely by external goals isn't fulfilling. The heart of change, of growth, is about nurturing the parts of yourself that fuel your soul, not just your bank account. In this moment of clarity, Alex realizes that they've been neglecting the balance between their personal passions and professional responsibilities. It's time for a shift. It's time to bring back that spark of creativity, the thing that made them fall in love with this journey in the first place. Alex knows they need to carve out time for what truly lights them up, whether it's spending time on their artwork, writing more, or just being present in the moment without feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. The first step is simple but vital. Alex schedules a day off, a full day to disconnect from work, to focus solely on the things that bring them joy without the pressure of deadlines or deliverables. They make a commitment to themselves to prioritize their well-being, their creative spark, and their internal growth over the constant hustle. That day off turns out to be more transformative than Alex could have imagined. They spend the day painting, reading, and writing, things they used to do before they got caught up in the whirlwind of entrepreneurship. By the end of the day, Alex feels like a different person. The exhaustion, the burnout, the disconnect, all of it melts away. For the first time in weeks, Alex feels whole again. They realize that the work will always be there, but their creativity is a well that needs to be replenished. And in this replenishing process, something magical happens. Alex starts to reconnect with the deeper reasons why they began this journey. They remember the joy they felt when they first decided to take a risk. They remember the excitement of the unknown, the passion for building something that was truly their own. That spark reignites, not because they're chasing success, but because they're nurturing the parts of themselves that make the journey meaningful. With this newfound energy, Alex returns to their business with a renewed sense of purpose. The work becomes exciting again, not because of external rewards or validation, but because it's aligned with their true values. They're not just creating a product, they're creating an experience. They're not just building a business, they're building a legacy that reflects their deepest passions. But the real beauty of this shift is that Alex now understands the delicate balance between work and creativity. They realize that to sustain long-term success, they need to nourish their mind, body, and soul. This isn't just about pushing harder or working longer hours. It's about learning to step back, take care of themselves, and let their passions guide them. The next challenge comes when Alex faces a new project, one that feels like a true test of their creative limits. The project is ambitious, exciting, and daunting all at once. It's a collaboration with other creatives, and Alex has to step into a leadership role. There's the fear that once again, the pressure will build, and the spark of creativity will be extinguished by the demands of leadership. But this time, Alex approaches it differently. They take the lessons they've learned, the importance of balance, the power of self-compassion, and the necessity of staying connected to their true passions. Instead of diving straight into work mode, they take the time to really think through the project. They allow themselves to dream big, to embrace the unknown, and to trust their team. Alex leads the project with a sense of calm, knowing that the journey is just as important as the destination. And as the project unfolds, something remarkable happens. The creative process flows effortlessly. The team is energized and motivated, and the work feels more collaborative than ever. Alex's leadership isn't about micromanaging. It's about inspiring others to bring their best selves to the table. They lead with vulnerability, humility, and a shared vision. And in doing so, they create a space where creativity can thrive. By the end of the project, the results are beyond anything Alex could have imagined. The product is successful, but more importantly, Alex has found a deeper sense of fulfillment in the process. They've learned that success isn't just about what you create. It's about how you create it. It's about the joy you find in the work, the people you work with, and the alignment of your actions with your values. As Alex reflects on this next chapter of their journey, they realize that they've come full circle. They've learned to trust the process, to embrace uncertainty, and to lead with passion and purpose. And as they look ahead, they know that change doesn't stop here. It will keep coming, evolving, and pushing them forward. But this time, they're not afraid. They're ready, because they've learned the most important lesson of all. Change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. And as long as Alex keeps showing up, keeps doing the work, and keeps leading with purpose, the possibilities are limitless. As Alex moves forward, they begin to recognize a powerful truth. True change isn't about what you can achieve in the short term, but how you evolve over the long haul. It's not about the shiny achievements or the praise that may come from others. It's about the internal growth, the deeper understanding of yourself, and the continual refinement of your vision. Change is a marathon, not a sprint. And in this phase of their journey, Alex starts to see that while their external world has transformed dramatically, the internal transformation is just as significant, if not more. They've spent years searching for the right answers, thinking that success was about finding the perfect formula, the ideal path. But now, Alex understands that there is no perfect path. There is no flawless blueprint. There's only the willingness to keep evolving, learning, and adjusting along the way. The more Alex embraces this mindset, the more they feel liberated. They realize that they no longer need to have everything figured out. The key to lasting change isn't about having a concrete, unchanging goal. It's about being willing to adapt, to listen to your own intuition, and to remain flexible as new opportunities present themselves. One afternoon, Alex sits down with their journal, reflecting on their journey up to this point. They think about all the moments of doubt, the times when they almost gave up, the moments when the road ahead seemed too unclear or too difficult. They think about the moments of growth, the breakthroughs, and the quiet wins that no one else saw. And they realize something profound. Each of those moments, whether good or bad, was necessary. They were all part of the process, part of the evolution that Alex had to go through. But the most significant realization is that this journey, the one they're still on, isn't about getting to some ultimate destination. It's about being present in the process. And in that presence, Alex feels a deep sense of peace. The pressure to achieve has lessened, replaced by the understanding that everything unfolds in its own time. What matters most is staying committed to the process, not the outcome. And it's in this space of acceptance that Alex's perspective begins to shift once again. They begin to see that success isn't just about achieving goals or hitting milestones. It's about the way you approach life, the mindset you cultivate, and the habits you develop to sustain growth. Alex is no longer trying to force things into place. They are learning to trust that as long as they keep moving forward, the next step will reveal itself. This realization leads Alex to something they hadn't expected, a deeper connection to the people around them. Over the past few months, they've been so focused on their own growth and success that they've unintentionally distanced themselves from friends and family. They've been so consumed by their ambition that they've neglected the relationships that once grounded them. Now, Alex realizes that real success, the kind that truly matters, is not achieved in isolation. It's about the people you connect with, the love you give, and the impact you have on others. So, Alex takes steps to reconnect. They start spending more time with their friends and family, taking time away from work to nurture these relationships. They understand that their success isn't solely defined by what they accomplish on their own. It's also defined by the positive influence they have on others. One of the most profound moments comes when Alex sits down for a heart-to-heart conversation with Sarah, the same friend who had once questioned their journey. Over tea, Alex opens up about everything they've learned, the doubts, the breakthroughs, the fears, and the triumphs. They talk about how their definition of success has changed, how their priorities have shifted, and how they now see the world in a much broader, more connected way. Sarah listens intently, and then, in a quiet voice, says something that takes Alex by surprise. "You're different, but in the best way possible. You found something deeper than success. You found peace." And that's the kind of change that lasts. It's in this moment that Alex realizes just how far they've come. The journey of change has been challenging, but it has also been rewarding. They've learned to let go of the need for perfection, to embrace the ebb and flow of life, and to find joy in the process rather than in the outcome. The road ahead is still unclear. There will always be new challenges, new opportunities, and new hurdles to overcome. But Alex has come to understand that the real beauty of life is in its unpredictability. The more they let go of the need for control, the more they allow themselves to fully experience each moment as it comes. They take a deep breath, looking out at the horizon. The journey isn't over. In fact, it's only just begun. But for the first time, Alex feels truly ready for whatever comes next. They know that with determination, resilience, and a deep sense of trust in the process, they can navigate anything that lies ahead. And that's the true power of change. It doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. From showing up each day, trusting yourself, and continuing to move forward, even when you don't have all the answers. As Alex stands on the edge of the next phase of their journey, they are no longer afraid. They understand now that change is a constant companion, not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. The process of becoming, of evolving, is the most beautiful part of life. And with that, Alex takes the next step into the unknown with confidence, hope, and a determination to keep growing no matter what. With each step Alex takes, they grow more certain of one truth. Change is not a destination, but a continual evolution. They've come so far, but they know that the road ahead will require them to be ever present, ever vigilant, and, most importantly, ever willing to grow. They've learned to embrace the discomfort of growth, to view setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities for improvement. This is no longer about chasing a perfect version of themselves. It's about embracing the person they are becoming in the process. Over the next few months, Alex finds themselves in the midst of yet another significant shift. While their business continues to grow, they begin to feel that familiar sense of hunger for something deeper. The external success is there, but the internal fulfillment, the satisfaction that comes from knowing you're living in alignment with your truest self, seems just out of reach. The restlessness starts to build again. It's a confusing feeling. After everything they've learned about the importance of determination and the need to trust the process, why does Alex feel like there's something missing? This question lingers in their mind, nagging at them in the quiet moments. It's the same feeling they had when they first started their journey, the sense that there's something more out there for them, something they haven't yet discovered. The answer doesn't come immediately, but it starts to take shape when Alex takes a step back from their work. They give themselves permission to pause, to reflect, to breathe, to simply be. In the space between action, they start to realize that they've been so focused on the doing that they've neglected the being. They've been busy building an empire, but in doing so, they've lost touch with the simple joys that once brought them peace. Spending time with loved ones, indulging in their creative hobbies, taking long walks in nature. And so, Alex decides to reconnect with those things. They take time off from work to focus on themselves, on their personal development, on their relationships, and on nurturing their creativity. They return to painting, something they hadn't done in months, and immediately feel the rush of joy it brings. They start to write again, not for work or business, but for the sheer pleasure of it. They spend more time in nature, appreciating the small moments, the beauty that had once been overshadowed by the demands of their career. This period of reflection becomes one of the most transformative of Alex's journey. They begin to realize that real change is not just about success, growth, and external achievement. It's about balance. It's about finding harmony between the work you do and the life you live. It's about being present, appreciating the journey, and not getting so consumed with the end result that you forget to enjoy the process. With this new understanding, Alex shifts their perspective once again. They stop striving so hard for external validation and instead focus on cultivating inner peace. They begin to define success not by the metrics of their business, but by the quality of their life. And as they do, they start to experience a deep sense of fulfillment that they hadn't felt in a long time. This newfound balance begins to affect every aspect of Alex's life. Their relationships improve as they invest more time and energy into connecting with the people who matter most. They feel more present, more engaged, and more at peace. The business continues to thrive, but Alex no longer feels as if their entire identity is wrapped up in it. They realize that they are not defined by what they achieve, but by who they are in the process of achieving it. The true beauty of Alex's transformation lies in their ability to finally embrace the ebb and flow of life. Change isn't just about pushing forward relentlessly. It's about knowing when to pause, when to reflect, and when to let go of the need for constant growth. It's about trusting that the right opportunities will come at the right time, and that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply be. As Alex moves forward, they remain determined to stay true to the lessons they've learned. They continue to take action, to grow, and to pursue their goals, but they do so with a renewed sense of clarity. They no longer measure their success by the typical standards of achievement. Instead, they measure it by how aligned their life is with their values, how present they are in the moments that matter, how balanced they feel, and how connected they are to their purpose. This realization doesn't come without challenges. There are still moments of doubt, moments when Alex feels the pull of old habits, when they want to revert back to the constant hustle. But now, they have the tools to handle those moments. They know that real change requires resilience, but also patience. They understand that it's not about rushing to the finish line. It's about enjoying the journey, embracing the ups and downs, and staying committed to the process of becoming. As they continue to evolve, Alex also learns to embrace the fact that change is never truly finished. It's ongoing. They'll continue to grow, to adjust, and to refine their vision. But instead of feeling overwhelmed by this, they feel empowered. They now understand that change isn't something that happens once and then ends. It's a continual process of discovery, refinement, and adaptation. And with each step, they move closer to the person they're meant to be. In the end, Alex's journey is not defined by the external results they achieve, but by the internal transformation they experience. They've learned that determination is key, but so is self-compassion, patience, and the ability to embrace the unknown. Change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from the willingness to take the next step, even when you don't have all the answers. And as Alex looks ahead, they know that this journey is far from over. There are still challenges, still growth to be had. But they also know that with every step they take, they're not just becoming who they want to be. They're becoming the person they've always been meant to be. As Alex continues on their journey, they begin to feel a deeper understanding of what it means to live a fulfilled life. The work they've put into their business, their art, and their personal development has brought them so far, but now they find themselves in a new phase. One that feels a little less urgent, a little more introspective. In the past, Alex might have equated growth with hustle, always pushing, always striving, thinking that success came from relentless effort. But now, after months of embracing balance and understanding that true success doesn't come from external validation, they see things differently. They realize that growth isn't about forcing results, but about nurturing the right environment for growth to happen. It's about creating space for the process, not obsessing over the destination. This realization marks a subtle but profound shift in how Alex approaches their work and their life. They no longer feel the pressure to achieve in the traditional sense. Instead, they feel a desire to explore, to experiment, and to continue evolving in a way that feels more authentic than ever before. And as they begin to shift their focus away from constant achievement, Alex starts to notice the quiet, hidden moments of life, the things that used to pass unnoticed. The gentle sunrise that filters through their window, the quiet hum of the city in the early morning, the laughter shared with friends over a simple dinner. These moments, once considered mundane, now feel rich with meaning. It's in these small moments that Alex discovers something remarkable. Life, in all its complexity, is beautiful not because of grand accomplishments, but because of these quiet, fleeting experiences that make up the fabric of every day. And for the first time, Alex fully embraces the idea that these moments are just as important as the big milestones. One afternoon, while reflecting on the many twists and turns they've encountered, Alex has a moment of clarity. They think back to the early days of their transformation, the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty about whether they were on the right path. They remember the old version of themselves, who constantly sought approval and validation, who measured their worth by external standards. They realize how far they've come, not just in terms of business or success, but in how they view themselves and the world around them. Alex feels a deep sense of gratitude for the journey. The hard moments, the setbacks, and the challenges, they were all necessary. Without them, there wouldn't have been growth. Without them, Alex wouldn't have discovered their true strength, their inner resolve, and the quiet power that comes from trusting the process. The shift continues as Alex delves into new projects with a refreshed mindset. They take on new creative endeavors that allow them to push boundaries and experiment in ways they hadn't before. This time, it's not about perfection or outcomes. It's about the joy of creation. It's about finding fulfillment in the process of bringing something new into existence, no matter how messy or imperfect it might seem. In the midst of these new projects, Alex also deepens their relationships. They spend more time with family, with friends, with people who share their passion for growth. They have more meaningful conversations, more shared experiences, and more time simply being present. Alex now understands that success is not just about achieving career goals. It's about creating a rich, connected life. It's about having a sense of community, of sharing your journey with others, and of growing together. One evening, while having dinner with Sarah, Alex reflects on the lessons they've learned. You know, Alex says, leaning back in their chair, I used to think that the more successful I became, the more fulfilled I'd feel. But now I see it differently. It's not the achievement that brings fulfillment. It's the journey. It's the process of becoming, not just the destination. Sarah smiles and nods, clearly understanding the shift in Alex's mindset. I think you found what a lot of people search for their whole lives, she says. You found peace in the process. That's where the real success lies. And in that moment, Alex feels a deep sense of gratitude, not just for their business, but for everything they've gained along the way. The confidence, the clarity, and most importantly, the inner peace that comes from knowing they are living authentically. They realize that the journey of change is not about achieving some ideal version of success. It's about learning to live in alignment with who you truly are. With this newfound perspective, Alex steps into the future with a sense of excitement, knowing that life is not about controlling every outcome, but about navigating the unknown with confidence, trust, and a willingness to evolve. They continue to pursue their passions, but now they do so with the understanding that true fulfillment comes not from the results, but from the process of growth itself. In the months that follow, Alex's business continues to grow, but so does their sense of self. They've learned that growth isn't just about external success. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, and that requires embracing the full spectrum of life, the triumphs and the struggles, the quiet moments and the loud victories. Through it all, Alex carries with them the most important lesson of all. Change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. The determination to keep going, to keep evolving, to keep growing, no matter where the journey takes you. As Alex looks ahead, they know that change will continue to be a part of their life, but they also know that they are more than ready for it. With trust in the process, confidence in their abilities, and a deep understanding of what truly matters, Alex steps forward, excited for the next chapter, whatever it may bring. As the story nears its conclusion, Alex finds themselves reflecting on the many stages of their journey. They've gone through the highs and lows, the victories and setbacks, but most importantly, they've learned that change isn't a destination. It's a process that unfolds over time. And while there's no singular, definitive endpoint, Alex feels that they're on the right path, more aligned with their true self than ever before. The one thing Alex realizes now is that change will never truly stop. It's a constant companion. There will always be new challenges, new growth opportunities, and new phases of life to navigate. But Alex now understands that the power of change lies not in avoiding these challenges, but in embracing them, knowing that each experience contributes to their ongoing evolution. In the months that follow, Alex continues to balance their professional and personal life. Their business has grown significantly, but more importantly, it has evolved into something that feels authentic, purposeful, and aligned with their values. The creative spark that Alex had once feared losing is now flourishing in ways they hadn't expected. They've learned to approach their work not as a grind or a means to an end, but as a way of expressing their deepest passions and purpose. As Alex continues to lead their business with a renewed sense of purpose, they also find time to give back. They're more committed than ever to helping others along their own journeys of change. Whether it's through mentorship, sharing their story, or simply offering guidance to those just starting their own transformations, Alex understands that part of true fulfillment comes from lifting others up along the way. One evening, as Alex reflects on their journey, they find themselves sitting on a bench in the park, watching the sunset. The world around them is quiet, and for a moment, everything feels perfectly in place. There's no pressure to achieve, no constant push for the next goal, just a deep sense of contentment and peace. Alex thinks back to the early days of their journey, the uncertainty, the fear, the endless searching for the right path. Back then, it felt like they were always striving for something bigger, something better, always thinking that the next achievement would bring them happiness. But now, Alex understands that happiness isn't found in the next achievement. It's found in the present moment, the quiet, the stillness, the ability to be fully alive in each moment, without chasing after an elusive future. This realization isn't just a fleeting thought. It's a deep understanding that reshapes everything Alex does moving forward. They don't need to keep striving for more. They don't need to keep seeking validation or external approval. They've already found what they were looking for: peace, contentment, and a sense of purpose. And with that, Alex feels ready to face whatever comes next with the same determination and trust in the process that has carried them so far. The beauty of Alex's journey isn't in the ultimate destination. It's in the journey itself. It's in the lessons learned, the growth experienced, and the person they become along the way. And as they sit there in the park, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Alex knows that they are exactly where they're meant to be. For the first time in a long time, Alex feels free. Free from the pressure of perfection, free from a need for external validation, and free from the fear of the unknown. They are ready to embrace whatever comes next, knowing that change will continue to be a part of their life. But now, they welcome it with open arms. Because change, Alex has learned, isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. And so, the journey continues, with each step forward fueled by the same determination that has guided Alex through the highs and lows of their transformation. With trust in the process, faith in their ability to adapt, and a deep sense of purpose, Alex is ready to face whatever lies ahead. Because in the end, change doesn't come from reasons. It comes from determination. The determination to keep going, to keep evolving, and to keep living fully, no matter where the journey takes you.